I'm Batchelor. This is the John Batchelor Show, an event in the 20th century unlike any other. The attack on Japan with atomic weapons. It is approximately 2 a.m. Tinian Island time, August 6, 1945. Paul Tibbets commanding the team's 3 aircraft that will make the assault on Hiroshima. No one's ever done this before. Everything is new. Captain Tibbets, Colonel Tibbets, addresses the men by saying, I have a box. He shows them a little box, and he says, if you take one of these, you'll be going in less than 6 minutes. Does anybody want one? One man raises his hand. We know, maybe others. His name is Captain William Parsons. I welcome Charles Pelegrino, the author of To Hell and Back, The Last Train from Hiroshima, Updated. This is the story of the destruction of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, August 6th, August 9th, 1945. We will begin from the outside, the American side, the bomber command, the people who built the bomb and launched it. And then we will go inside to those who survived, especially the phenomenon of the fact that people survived both blasts, that in the intervening days, there were people, and Charlie has spoken to many of them, there were people who traveled from Hiroshima, the destroyed city of Hiroshima, to Nagasaki. These 2 towns were joined by trains, in addition to the fact that they both had active Mitsubishi aircraft, Mitsubishi manufacturing facilities where they worked, and they had relatives. So we're watching double survivals. We're also watching people who survived one, and we're watching people who didn't survive at all. Charlie, congratulations and good evening. Colonel Tibbets is addressing the crew, and Captain William Parsons asked for a pill. It's a suicide pill in the event of capture in case you're tortured. You do not want to have to restrain yourselves unnecessarily because what information you carry is vital. Why does Captain William Parsons take one? What does he know, Charlie? Good evening to you.
Well, the main physician on the island, he knew one thing, that almost everyone will talk under the types of torture that they knew were being used at that time. Parsons, he was in charge of the fusing parts of the bomb. He knew very much how the bomb worked. He knew what weights and measures were required. And if the plane was shot down or crashed in Japanese territory, he would make sure that he silenced himself. They carried sidearms. Tibbets had been told that the pills would be very fast also. And in any event, no matter what happened, at least Tibbets and Parsons had to silence themselves. There was another man aboard, of course, William Alvarez. We don't know if he took one of the pills with him. And also the radar fusing designer and operator, Jacob Bezier. He was the only crew member to actually be on the atomic strike plane on both missions. And apparently he did not take one of the pills.
So we had 3 men on board who were vital to keeping the secret of what the weapons were and how they were built. We now go immediately, because we're going to go on this flight with the Enola Gay, that is the famous aircraft that's at the Smithsonian, flown by Tibbets, but there are 2 other aircraft, the Necessary Evil, which is the chase plane, the observation plane, and the Great Artiste, commanded by Captain Sweeney, who will fly boxcar on the second attack on Nagasaki. So these men are all very vital to understanding what they went through that night. And they have 3 airfields. They're taking off 1 aircraft from each airfield. They've also made a decision to arm the bomb en route, not to arm it on the ground. Why, Charlie?
There had been an accident the day before on August 5th. The original plan was to have the bomb already armed at takeoff because the arming procedure was rather complex. And after this crash on a runway, it was realized with this other plane that crashed coming in and burned up that if this had happened with the atomic bomb already armed, the bomb could have detonated upon impact of the plane and possibly taken out probably would have taken out a large portion of the Tinian Air Base.
It certainly would have taken out the 509th, which is the unit assigned to the atomic weapons. They've been training for months and months and months. Tibbets has had them in Utah. They've practiced bombing all over the United States all kinds of bombs, including what Charlie describes as a pumpkin with fins. That very much looks like the Nagasaki bomb. Little Boy is the uranium-235 bomb that they're carrying. It's very large. However, not until the briefing does the crew know it's a single bomb, correct?
Right.
They tell them that night, and they're going, what kind of bomb is this? They think it's a new kind of incendiary.
Right. Only a few people, even on the crew of the Enola Gay, only a few of them actually knew that it was a nuclear weapon. Several thought, oh, it's some sort of new thing that maybe the chemist dreamed up, some new sort of firebomb.
2:45 a.m., approximately Tinian Island time, Enola Gay lifts off. 3 minutes later, Great Artiste lifts off. 3 minutes later, Necessary Evil. They're flying in serial form about 16 kilometers between, a gap between them all, flying towards their rendezvous point over Iwo Jima, which they reach approximately 5:45 a.m. local time. In this time, Parsons is arming, right? He's almost finished the arming by the time they reach
right. While the
Iwo
plane
Jima.
is down at around 5,000 feet, which is a height that you can still breathe comfortably in, he has been going through the whole process of arming the bomb, and he had practiced this the day before on Tinian without gloves because he wanted to get the exact feel of every screw and every plug, and he literally wore his hands raw, practicing it over and over.
The Bombay doors, everything down there is very cold. How does he operate with his? How does he?
Well,
make his
they're down
fingers?
at that point. They're down at about 5,000 feet, slightly less than a mile. After the bomb is armed, and as they are approaching Japan, Parsons closes the hatch
and climbs.
right, and climbs up, and it's a pressurized plane, so they then go up to 30,000 feet.
They can see Iwo Jima. They can see the airfields. They can see what the Marines fought for. They rendezvous over Fort, and they turn towards Japan. They have a weather plane in front, straight flush. Claude Earthly is the commander, and he is to tell them whether if the weather is good over the primary target, which is Hiroshima. My note here says he sends them a note at approximately 7:30 a.m. local time, C1. What does that mean?
That means target 1 is clear.
All right. No one's ever done this before. So here we go. 3 planes heading to Japan, and they ascend to 9 kilometers, which is approximately 30,000 feet. Is that outside of fighter range?
Pretty much. There's some possibility they believe the Japanese might have had a special kind of Zero that could have gotten up to that height, but these planes were flying almost 100 miles an hour faster than any Zero could fly, so there would be almost no time of intercepting.
The reason I ask is they've taken all the guns out. They've stripped it as much as possible to carry extra fuel, and because of the weight of the bomb, they only have one tail gun. That's all they've got. And they're at 30,000 feet. They approach the Japanese mainland. They cross from the water to the land. There are only 3 aircraft. This is a deception. What does it mean, Charlie?
Right. They had actually prepared Japan with 1 and 2 planes flying over a lot of the major cities, or what was left of major cities, because by this time, almost 60 cities have been firebombed since March. And there are only about 5 major cities that are still intact, and part of Tokyo where the Imperial Palace is. So they've sort of lulled the military into seeing that 2 or 3 planes would fly over together and make observations and not drop any bombs at all.
We're now approaching Hiroshima. It's about 8 o'clock in the morning. Charles Pelegrino is the author of To Hell and Back. This is the last train from Hiroshima. Down below are people who will survive this attack and will testify for the rest of their lives what they saw and the phenomena that were created by this one bomb carried by Enola Gay. I'm John Batchelor. This is The John Batchelor Show.